want to welcome you to the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater, to the Mercedes Club here. A lot of our constituents in District 1 don't know, but this is in the heart of District 1. And we're really glad to have you here. We're very proud of this facility. It's been something that's been a great asset to the city now, and we hope it will continue to be an asset for the city in the future. Before we get going in terms of the district overview, we're all aware of Mr. Odom's passing. I can tell you personally as a friend, we're going to miss him. I enjoyed getting to know him, to really get to know him over the past year and few months. He was one of the most authentic and genuine individuals I've ever met. He truly enjoyed representing you on the City Council. And it's been a great loss to all of us. And I can assure you that myself and the City Council members, who I'm going to introduce in a little bit, we've resolved that in this interim period, we're going to do the best job that we can to make sure that you do not feel any vacancy in this process. So if you just know this, that we're going to work as hard as we can for you to help get us over this hump. It's, again, I know it's an extremely trying time for the family, it's for the district and for the city, but the one thing that I've seen in my 9 years in Tuscaloosa as mayor, we've never not been able to meet a challenge. And I would imagine we're going to meet, well actually I know we're going to meet this challenge as well. Now coming out of this, it almost seems surreal, but we have to talk about there's got to be an election. So what I wanted to briefly do was give you an idea of what the election timelines will be going forward. The dates that I give you have not been fully adopted by the City Council, so they're preliminary. I think they will be adopted, but there could be some variation. So let me tell you what I do know, and then Ms. Kroom, who's our city clerk, will fill in the blanks or correct me on the things that I didn't get right. The last day you could be a resident of the district was Christmas Eve. So if you move in today into the district, you will not be an eligible voter to vote in the election coming up. So I know for most of you that's not a concern. On January 27th, I will give notice and qualifying will begin. So for a candidate to qualify and pay a $200 registration fee will begin on January 27th. Candidates will have up to 5 o'clock on February 10th to qualify to run for District 1. So any questions on that qualifying period? So if you're thinking about running or you know someone who is running, you have to do more than just announce it. You have to come to the clerk's office at City Hall, fill out the paperwork, pay the registration fee between the dates of January 27th and February 10th. At 5 o'clock on February 10th it will close, and there will be no other times for anyone to get onto the ballot for the municipal election. If you decide to become a candidate, and I don't know if any of you here will be, there's also a myriad of different other timelines that you'll be required to meet, whether it's filling out the Statement of Economic Interest, whether it's Fair Campaign Act forms. Those are both governed by the Alabama Ethics Commission and the Secretary of State's office. Those timelines will be provided to you as well, but as a candidate, that's your obligation to meet all those timelines. March 13th will be the deadline for registering to vote with the Tuscaloosa County Board of Registrars. March 14th is a Saturday, therefore the deadline is Friday, March 13th. March 19th is the last day that you can apply for a regular absentee ballot. And on March 24th will be the election day. So we're a little bit over 2 months away from having the election day on March 24th. Once the election is held on March 24th, a week later on March 31st, 2015, at noon, the City Council will canvass the votes. Of course, the election results will be known, but at this point is the formality of the council gathering the votes, and then we will formalize and adopt the vote of District 1. And at that point, we believe that if we have a clear-cut winner, someone has 50% of the vote, they can immediately be sworn in as your new council person. So the soonest that you could have a council person, depending upon the vote, will be March 24th. Are there any questions on that so far? If the results of March 24th and they're canvassed by the council on March 31st result in two candidates, or we'll take the top two candidates that didn't get our 50%. So if no candidate gets 50%, the two highest will go to a runoff. And the deadline or the election day on that runoff will be May 5th. So if we have a runoff election, that period, I think 6 weeks, Tracy, is prescribed by state law. So that 6-week runoff period is prescribed by state law. It was amended in the 2000s to give service people time to get their absentee ballots mailed to them and mailed back. So that's why we have a pretty long 6-week period there. The council will canvass the votes on May 12th, and the winner then can be sworn in after the canvassing of the votes. So this is the election timeline that we have in place. Once the council formally adopts this, which I suspect will be this coming Tuesday, you can go to Tuscaloosa.com. All this information will be available to you. First, I want to talk about some projects that we have that are ongoing in your district that are either in design phase, in construction, in planning phase, or construction phase. In other words, these are projects that are happening, and they will manifest themselves over the next 12 to 24 months. The first is the trestle train improvements, sewer improvements, just west of here. Mr. Taylor and I talk about this all the time. The council and the city doesn't get a lot of credit for a lot of the work we do underground because you really don't see it, but it's some of the most important work that we can do as a city. This is the second phase of an $8.14 million project that's going on to help maintain our water and sewer system. This project consists of rerouting the sanitary sewer through a new pipe that's being installed along Jack Warner Parkway and Martin Luther King Boulevard. The current shelf life of the existing infrastructure has ended, and it's time for it to be replaced. This is actually a bid has been awarded, and we expect to go into construction phase probably within the next few weeks. The next major project that we got is the Lift Station 21 interceptor improvements. Again, this is another sewer project that doesn't get a lot of notoriety, but is extremely critical that it be done in West Tuscaloosa. This is a $4.1 million investment. It consists of rerouting new sanitary sewer that'll be not only improve the existing conditions, we're also putting in bigger lines for growth in the future. This project runs north in and around 29th Street. It actually goes in and out of District 2. So it's a project that crosses both district lines. This project is currently in design phase, and it was recently approved, the funding was recently approved by the City Council. The next major project going on in District 1 is the Oakdale Drainage Project. This project will extend the existing concrete flume that's to the west of Oakdale Primary School. It's an $800,000 project. It's already gone through bid, and the project it's either awarded or soon to be awarded. And this is going to be another great project. We have spent over $13 million since 2007 in West Tuscaloosa on drainage alone. When this current council took office in 2005, our council members, we've got, by the way, I failed to introduce, we've got several of you tonight. Mr. Taylor, our council president, Ms. Allman, councilwoman for District 3. We have any other council members here that Mr. Tyner from District 5. All of us actually, of course, Mr. Taylor, he's been on the council since, I think, Moses, right? I'm just kidding. That's his joke, actually, not mine. In 2005, one of the things we saw, one of the real threats to our city was the drainage issues in West Tuscaloosa. And this council has invested a lot of dollars to solve drainage issues. This is part of a package we call Noah's Ark, and it's been a very successful project. The next major project that's going to be ongoing is streets resurfacing. Many of you have seen the condition of a lot of our streets, and I'm going to kick the can a little bit down the road and address this in two parts. There are certain roads that you drive in the city that are actually not the city's responsibility. Major state highways, the interstate system, they are ALDOT designated highways, thus ALDOT is responsible for their paving and maintenance. Local roads that you see, those are our responsibility. So a lot of times the roads that need resurfacing are outside the council's jurisdiction. We do communicate that with ALDOT. We do communicate that with the governor's office. But many times we can't solve those problems. One of the things I would do is encourage, if you have a road that you're not sure, call us, call 311, or you can talk about it tonight, and I can let you know whether that's a state-maintained road or a City of Tuscaloosa maintained road. Now, for the last 2 years, the city has held off doing paving of our local roads, but we've had a strategic reason why. When the tornado happened in April 27, 2011, it first created a situation where we had a large amount of debris removal, which means we had a large amount of trucks, heavy trucks going through our city. And then we've had a considerable amount of reconstruction since the tornado. To pave our roads and then have the heavy trucks damage it would not be a wise expenditure of scarce taxpayers' money. The council now is at the point where we think we can begin the paving process. Sometime this spring we will authorize, depending upon revenues, between a $2.5 to $3 million paving contract within the non-tornado areas. And then we will have somewhere between $4 to $6 million of repaving within the tornado zone itself, or the recovery zone itself. We've received federal disaster recovery money for the recovery zone. Those dollars will be applied, which will free up more general fund money to be able to use in other parts of our city. I think all of us on the council recognize this. I mean, we drive the roads every day like all of you do, and we understand that there is time, and we're ready to move forward with those paving contracts. Right now, the University Boulevard is a state road. University Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard, some 15th Street, 359 definitely. Lurleen Wallace through downtown is another state road. And we oftentimes get the calls on it. And it's a pretty good move if you're state, you know, just, hey, tell the city to do it. But we're going to get after it this year on our local roads. Most 15th Street is a state road. Now, we're in negotiations with AlDOT to look over taking over maintenance of University Boulevard. But if we did that, we would want them to take over something for us. So there might be a time where we do that. Now, what happens is in areas where we've gone in and streetscaped, like parts of downtown, University Boulevard downtown, we take over the maintenance of that section. So if we go in and we do the landscaping and the irrigation, then we have an agreement with the state that we take over that portion of that state highway. And in all seriousness, I know sometimes you think, well, what's going to come out of this? Last year, the council approved hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of projects that came out of these town hall meetings. And this gives the city and the staff, myself, and then the council, when we go and appropriate dollars, hearing that reminds us we need to get that on our 5-year capital plan and make sure it gets addressed. So let me go into some other project updates that are going on. We have the splash pad at Palmore Park, which has been extremely popular. We named it after our council president, Harrison Taylor. Certainly worthy of that honor. This was a $1.3 million in park investment by the city of Tuscaloosa, and I know that everyone on the city council was very proud of this. We've also seen some private sector development that is beginning to occur in downtown and west of Greensboro, and I think that's important. We're seeing the Embassy Suites and the Riverfront Village, and we're going to be close to having another commercial development hopefully announced fairly soon. Our planning staff has envisioned from 21st Avenue down to Greensboro Avenue that it become more of a downtown feel, that as development took place, you give it a tighter fit like a downtown has to increase pedestrian access. The problem with that, and again, I take full responsibility, is that we only had development on one side of the road, on a road that still had a speed limit from 21st Avenue down to Greensboro of about 35 miles an hour. So we required them to build it that way, and we shouldn't have, in my opinion. And again, it's my fault. I've gone back and instructed the Office of City Engineer, who approved the plans, to let's go ahead and put a capital project together that would make it a sidewalk from that point, I guess up here at Jack Warner, all the way back to the bank where we have the nearest connection to the Riverwalk. We need to do that anyway on amphitheater show nights. We have a lot of people getting into the roads. It's going to work out for us, but that was a mistake that the city made, and ultimately that's my mistake, and I apologize that it happened. I had a sharp staff member say, have you seen this? You see plans, but you don't necessarily, you know, the application of it's always different. And we went down there, and the minute I saw it, we knew we needed a change. And so in the future, it's been a lesson learned. When we convert something that's from a highway to a pedestrian field, we need to make sure it's a holistic development or not require the developer to do that. Okay. There's no taxpayer loss. The developer incurred the cost because that's what we required them to do, and we'll get it corrected. Staff wants to make sure that we let you know about the air show that's coming up, March 28th and 29th. If you get an opportunity, it's one of the most phenomenal experiences that you've ever seen. It'll make you proud of our armed services. You'll just be amazed at the courage of the pilots who do such daring and death-defying feats. It's at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport. If you're interested in buying tickets, you can go to Ticketmaster.com. The ticket prices are very reasonable, and I think you will fully enjoy this event. I think it's going to be from 12 noon to 4 o'clock p.m. We have an outstanding shuttle service that we've used for the last few air shows, and I'd recommend using that. That's the quickest way in and quickest way out. We've had over 100,000 people at the air show, so I hope you will enjoy that. To give you some sense of how hard it is to get this, over 300 communities vie for 36 spots. So it's something that is it's an honor for the city to be able to have this. I also want to encourage everyone to use recycling. One of the things that I'm disappointed in, and it's one of our strategic goals in 2015, is to encourage more recycling. As you know, and I know some of you even disagree with, we went to once a week garbage pickup, and the reason why we did that was after the tornado we had lost 80% of our fleet, and we wanted to provide universal recycling across the city. Parts of our city had recycling, but the majority of our city did not. And so the council wanted to make sure everyone could use recycling. So we went to once a week garbage, provided full recycling to take the place of that other garbage day. If you don't use recycling and you're interested, or you would like some garbage bins or recycling bins, please call 311. I'm a parent. I have a child in diapers. I have a 12-year-old, and of course my wife. We generate a lot of garbage, but we're advocates on recycling, and we fill up 2 bins, and we barely fill up even half of our garbage cart, and that's with diapers. So if you don't recycle and you're interested, please come. You can come see me, come see a staff member, or call 311. And all you have to do is take your recyclables and put them in the bin. You don't even have to sort them. You just put them in the bin, and our staff will sort them at the curb. If we want to be just selfish and save ourselves money as taxpayers, the more we recycle, then the less likely we can keep our garbage rates low. Because what happens is that not only does it costs the city about $8 million a year to run garbage, debris pickup, and recycling. The fees that we pay generate about $6 million a year. So there's a $2 million deficit that the city just funds out of its general fund. So we fund, so we keep the rates reasonable. But if we can increase recycling, which last year generated about $250,000, or excuse me, $150,000, if we can continue to get that recycling number up, we can then have the council keep the rate steady. So recycling helps all of us, and it also helps us not fill up our landfill. We lost roughly 3 years of landfill life with the tornado, and to expand the landfill is tens of millions of dollars. So this recycling is good for us because it means we don't fill up the landfill. Here's the good news. Again, I know y'all think I'm boring you to tears. When I became mayor, we almost spent almost $1 million a year in tipping fees. Now we spend about $800,000 a year. So we are we're not dumping as much, and that's a very good sign. The River Market, if you hadn't get a chance, is open on Tuesdays and Saturdays for most of the season. They're open from 7 a.m. to 12 noon. It's an outstanding experience. I do want to encourage you to continue to use 311. To give you an idea, last year, the total number of calls last year we received in 2014 was 26,449. So that's how many calls we got out of District 1. And the top call we got, the top SRO we issued was overgrown grass. Non-operative vehicles was number 2. Missed trash pickup was number 3. Missed garbage pickup was number 4. Stray animal was number 5. Request for a new garbage cart was number 6. A code violation, that means you had a house, most likely with an issue or something like that, was number 7. To repair a garbage cart was number 8. A broken water meter was number 9. And then electronics count was number 10. So these are the issues that citizens are calling in about in District 1. And these are the work orders that we issued as a result of the various different phone calls. Several months ago, Councilman Odom and I actually did a plant tour of Hunnell. The city has no jurisdiction. First of all, Hunnell is actually in the county, along with B.F. Goodrich. But even beyond that, local governments don't have jurisdiction over their amount they're able to dispense in the air and the amount of air particles. All that's enforced on the state and federal level. When we receive concerns regarding air quality, we do turn those over for ADM and EPA for testing. They are very good about following up on those testing requirements. And the smell itself is not something, it's very difficult for them to regulate. What they're looking for is, I guess this is the wrong word, Mr. Sutton, don't hold me to it, the toxicity of it, whether it be harmful, and those are things that they're looking at. But we run into this problem too in North Tuscaloosa with an asphalt plant that's in that area of the city. We also have an issue up here. I can't remember the name of the plant at the top of the hill here. But if they're within those requirements, the city has no authority to stop the emissions. Just kind of closing in on financial outlook, and then we'll move on to your questions and answers. Your city continues to be in outstanding financial shape. We do this on the lowest sales tax base of any really city of significance in Alabama. Right now, we collect 2 cents of sales tax. Now, we pay 9, but of that 9, what the city receives is 2 cents. Cities like Birmingham have 4.5, Mobile has 5, Montgomery has 3.5, Hoover has 4. We do it on 2, and I'm very proud of that. And our city continues to run a great operation, but we do it in a very lean manner. I'm also proud that our city cash flowed over $40 million during the tornado, and we didn't have to raise taxes. We didn't have to go borrow money to make payroll or to continue the operations of this city. And that speaks of the financial strength. In fact, the rating agencies that rate our debt validate that of your city. That's important. Your community having the financial strength is important. Now, as a community, we're going to have to make some decisions. For 9 years, I think you've kept me in office because I've been honest with you. You may not have liked every decision, but I think you've kept me in office because I've told you what I felt was the right decision for the city. As we stand now financially, we can continue to do the things that we've always done. And we can do that now and into the future. But major road projects like fixing 69 South, opening up this train trestle, solving the issues on McWright's Ferry Road, those major projects that are making the toll bridge public, those other major issues, those are going to require new revenue sources going forward. Anybody that tells you different is not being honest with you. And tonight's not really, we don't have anything to discuss per se or anything to propose to you. But I think in the coming weeks, months, and years ahead, there's going to have to be a discussion as a community of how we want to tackle these large problems. Because the other issue that we have, and you see this, our state doesn't have a lot of discretionary money. The federal government doesn't have a lot of discretionary money. In fact, earmarking is no longer even allowed through Congress. So it's going to be very difficult. Unless we're in the recovery zone, the access to federal dollars are going to be very limited outside of that. That's going to be a situation we're going to have to discuss further as a community. And you know, I know myself, and I think the City Council looks forward to having that discussion. But if you know of a particular property that you feel is not meeting the city's property maintenance code, and in layman's term, if you see high grass, or you see litter, or you see windows that are broken out, the city has a property maintenance code. We have nearly a dozen staff members who work in different departments, but who are involved in what we call code enforcement that deal with this issue. Now, it's not quick. It's not quick because the owner of that property has due process rights, but we really have a very high rate of success. And ultimately, it could end up in municipal court with property maintenance code issues. The city will actually prosecute that. Most time we get, once enough pressure is applied, we normally get the corrections done to the piece of property themselves. The biggest thing I find is the city being aware of it. So if you know of a particular property, you can call 311. In fact, if you don't want to give your name, be anonymous. But give us the address, allow us to go out there. Now, you might call in and 2 months later there might be nothing done. You think, oh, that city didn't do anything with it. But many times that a homeowner's put on notice, they're given a timeline to correct the problem. And then if it goes to court, certainly it gets out of our jurisdiction, it's in the hands of the court. But the city is very aggressive on this. In fact, I hear from the other end. I hear from property owners who get on to me that say, all I do is go after, why am I not focused on drugs or something else? Why are you focusing on high grass? So we hear it on both ends, and I can assure you we'll be very aggressive on it. Let us know, because you're exactly right. There's nothing that can bring down the value of a neighborhood quicker than somebody not maintaining their property. And we want to support you on that. Our staff has really done a good job, and the council is very supportive of this. I can assure you, your city council is very supportive of you on this. As it relates to economic development, remember I talked earlier about us doing bigger things? One of the mega, we call them mega projects that we have in the city, and it's in design only. There's certainly no funding on it. It's about a $30 million project. It would be to create a, what's the right word, not a tunnel, but through the trestle, an opening through the trestle. And then as we go up the road, improve the road condition, 2-lane, and then the total road would be improved on Martin Luther King, streetscape similar to what you've seen in other areas. That would actually run, the big idea project is to run it all the way down to Colusa, but at least all the way down to 29th Street. That's one of those big projects that one day we hope to have happen. And I think something like that, where we improved water, sewer, lighting, streetscaping, I think that could encourage better business development. One of the biggest struggles we're having now at the city is drainage detention ponds in neighborhoods. We have roughly 100 detention ponds when neighborhoods were built that were turned over to the homeowner association, and then the homeowner association loses the capacity to be able to take care of those drainage ponds, and then they become flood hazards for neighborhoods. Our engineering staff is working on some pretty bold initiatives. Some of you may actually be impacted by this. It's going to be an expensive solution. I'm sure the council will want to not have me say anything, or not. I wouldn't say that, but pretty sure they'll say, Walt, where are you going to find the money to do this? But it is an issue, and we're going to have to figure out a way to solve it. Some of you may be experiencing that. I know in Ms. McKinstry's district, in District 7, we have a lot of that issue going on, and the council's trying to work through it. The city council's and the mayor's only role in paving is budgetary. We give the engineering staff, we turn in names of streets. The engineering staff is always evaluating streets. And the council gives a budget number. This year it's going to be between 2.5 probably to 3 million. But then streets are graded out by our engineering staff, and that's how we're paved. And the reason why we do this is that way it's not politics. It's not because this council member's powerful and maybe this one's not, and that's why this street got paved and this one didn't. And so every street that we pave will go down till we spend $3 million. or whatever the budget number is. The question was regarding signalization of railroad intersections and the blowing of the horn. I believe they are prescribed by certain requirements by the federal government to blow their horns. And the more intersections that we get signalized with cross arms, if you have an intersection that's signalized cross arm, then they don't have to blow their horn. And I forget I don't know the specifics of it. Our goal is to become a quiet zone, that we get every intersection in Tuscaloosa with a cross arm and the signal. Now, the railroad would gladly have the city pay for it, and the railroad's not forced to do it. To do that is normally between $200,000 to $300,000 per intersection, and the city's not going to pay for railroad company infrastructure. We couldn't afford it. But here's I think some long-term good news. In the Tuscaloosa Forward Plan, we have a couple of intersections at 10th Avenue and at Hillard, where we hope one day those will be bridged, where you'll go over. And that will create, I think, once that is done, almost a true safe zone through the Tuscaloosa area that hopefully over time will eliminate those horns. But for the short term, I think horns are going to be part of our future in Tuscaloosa.